Through the first 8 weeks of the season, the Falcons gave up a little over 31 points per game on defense. In 2 games out of their bye, they've accomplished something on defense for the first time since 2009, holding opponents to under 10 points in back-to-back games. First, they held the Saints to their lowest point total in the Drew Brees era at home. That was 9 points. Then they gave Kyle Allen a 4-interception performance last Sunday against the Panthers. Coming out of their bye, it was announced that head coach Dan Quinn would turn the play-calling duties to some assistant coaches, and since then the defense went from trash to potentially really good. They had 7 sacks in the first 8 games of the season, but they've had 11 sacks in their last 2 games, a pretty crazy turnaround. In 2018, we gave the Falcons a pass because they had some major injuries on defense, including Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, who's once again injured, and Ricardo Allen. So coming into 2019, most of us had high hopes for this team, including myself. I believe I had them at 9-7 in a wild card spot as well for my preseason predictions. Dan Quinn definitely had his back against the wall heading into the bye week at 1-7. He basically had no choice but to turn the play calling duties over to his assistants. We see this happen sometimes where coaches on their last leg will turn the play calling duties over, but some coaches are stubborn and it ends up getting them fired. We see it now with Matt Nagy and the Bears, even Pat Shurmur for the Giants. There's been plenty of examples in the past of coaches that look like they're on their way out, but they refuse to give the play calling duties over to somebody else. They got to see if something changes, and maybe a different play caller for some reason will ignite the team, but some coaches choose not to do it. I give Dan Quinn credit because he did turn over the play calling duties, and now this defense is playing at an elite level. So Falcons ownership, they stood by Dan Quinn the entire way when most of us thought he should have been fired. I mean, after that Arizona loss and maybe a couple other losses, I thought to myself, why is this guy still employed? It was interesting. I honestly did not get it, but Arthur Blank, the ownership, they stood by him the whole time, and now we could see why. The Falcons definitely still have the offense to compete, which is why it's kind of sad that they're 3-7 right now. Even after 2 straight wins, they've had the offense to compete all year. And look, their offense has not been perfect by any means. They're basically surviving via the pass game. Their offensive line's not been that great, honestly. It struggled in the preseason, and it definitely continued in the regular season. Their running game has been non-existent. They've been, basically feeding Devonta Freeman receptions. They've been kind of running through the air, as you can say. So their run game has not been there this year, but their passing game, of course, has been there. Their defense, of course, the first 8 games was atrocious, and now they have like this very tall hill to climb to get back to 500. But look, there's 6 games left for them. They're 3-7 right now. Maybe this team finds a way to go 8-8 or even 9-7. It's very far-fetched to win 6 games in a row. Their remaining schedule is the Bucs, the Saints, the Panthers, all at home, so it's 3 games in a row at home. Then they're at San Francisco, home versus Jacksonville, and at Tampa Bay. So I see a couple of losses on that schedule, but this team's really hot right now, so you never know. They're blowing teams out right now. Their defense looks terrific, so you never know what's going to happen. It's a week-by-week type of thing. So, they probably do have a couple losses left, but we'll see how the last 6 games play out. It would be an amazing story for football if a 1-7 team found a way to go 9-7 and make the playoffs. I personally feel that to make the wild card spot in the NFC, you probably need 10 wins, but it's basically impossible to tell right now. We'll see how the last 6 weeks play out, but it should be fun. But the good news is for Dan Quinn and for the Falcons players that like him, it seems like most players like the guy, is that he probably will save his job for 2020 as long as they keep competing like this. If their defense continues to play near this level, I mean, obviously you can't force 4 interceptions and sack a quarterback 5 or 6 times every week. But if they can play near this level on defense every week, he'll probably return for 2020. So they'll have a brand new start next year. They'll probably have a decent draft pick as well, somewhere in the middle of the first round. So we'll see what they do there. But it looks like Dan Quinn's definitely safe right now. Once again, I give him credit for giving away the play calling duties. I'm sure you have to put a lot of pride aside. He's a defensive-minded head coach, so I'm sure he wanted to call all the plays, but you have to put your pride aside. And some head coaches, as I said before, Pat Shurmur, Matt Nagy, guys like that, who don't want to give away the play calling, it might cost them their job. So I give Dan Quinn credit, and we'll see how the Falcons finish out the rest of 2019.